So how can one possibly improve on an already amazing motorcycle, possibly one of BMW's greatest creations and undoubtedly one of the best sport tourers on the market, the K1300 S? Well, you could put a super sport sidecar on it, so you can include your dog and your kids and whoever else you might want to, and then you come up with something like this. This is my very own BMW in the Motorsport Edition, the special edition for the last year, with this Hannigan Super Sport Sidecar that rides as good as it looks. Stay tuned for a complete in-depth Pegasus Motorcycle Tours and Consulting review of this incredible rig. Let's do it. Zdravo I dobrodošli, bon dia, bem-vindos, servus, willkommen, buenos dias, bienvenidos. Welcome riders to another Pegasus Motorcycle Tours and Consulting review straight from Bavaria. We have this gorgeous K1300 S 2016, the Motorsport model. This is their basically closeout of the model special edition version of the fantastic sport tour that led the whole class in my opinion. I've already reviewed the K1200 S. I think it's one of the most beautiful motorcycles ever made. And when I saw it, when I moved to San Diego, I knew I had to have it. So if you want a full breakdown of that motorcycle made from 2004 to 2008, you can have it. Just look through the playlist. And towards the end of it, when I was researching, I realized that they also make a sidecar for it, which is amazing, color matched and made to fit the racing spirit of this motorcycle. And I had to have it. So I finally found this after a few years of looking in Seattle, went up to pick it up with the family, and it was amazing trip, an amazing ride down, and just an incredible rig so far. What makes this bike so special is that it actually rides as good as it looks, as sporty as it looks. Now the motorcycle itself is in a class of its own. You get a 1300cc motor pushing out 175 horsepower and 103 foot-pounds of torque. I mean, it's very impressive even for the weight. Actually, the weight, in my opinion, is a benefit because it makes the bike even more stable and stationary. I like big sport tours. I like that buff, kind of big bruiser-style motorcycle. I think it gives the bike presence, and it's a more comfortable bike for long tours, for two-up riding, for sport touring, for touring. Especially a bike like this that can come with optional luggage. We'll talk about that in a second, but the motorcycle itself, plenty of power. It's a 4-cylinder inline, of course. It's been improved October 2008 when it was announced, so 2009 and up until 2016, so almost a decade, largely unchanged. But a few tweaks from the predecessor, the 1200, made this bike even more impressive. What's, for me, most impressive about the motor, it's a very light motor. It's actually only 82 kilos, 182 pounds. And it sits very low, actually, because it has a dry sump system, so there's no oil reservoir at the bottom. You can actually put the motor much lower, like 60 millimeters lower than you otherwise would have been able to do so. So it keeps the weight really low and planted. But you get a lot of torque delivered before 4,000 RPM. I think 70% of the torque is delivered by 3,000 RPM, which is really impressive for everyday use, for city riding, etc., for commuting. You get that grunt when you need it to pass, etc. And it gets just as much torque at 4,000 RPM as the Super Sport Racing S1000RR gets at 11,000 RPM. So it's pretty impressive. You get a lot of bike right off the line. The motor is so buttery smooth. Actually, the company Ricardo that worked with Bugatti to make their transmission on the 1000 Veyron is the one that worked on this motor, so it's kind of interesting. They really put a lot of effort into this bike, and it shows. I think it's my favorite BMW for sure, and this is the right bike for this kind of setup because it's got enough power to pull the sidecar with the person, and it's got enough suspension and performance not to be abused by it. The transmission as well, 6-speed transmission, much smoother than on the K1200. That was one thing that I noticed with the K1200. It was actually, felt like a tractor almost. It was just very abrupt. And mind you, I'm comparing this motorcycle to my Honda VFR 1200 F. I love that motorcycle. It was amazing. It was better in one main respect, in that it had 3 color matched luggage that matched the motorcycle, hard-sided, and I love that. It's a sport touring bike, and it needs to have that because you're putting a lot of miles on this thing, right? So you want to be able to store a lot of things, and I love that bike for that reason. Take a look at that review. I also reviewed the 800, one of my favorite bikes, the VFR 800 Interceptor. Now, I've never experienced this motorcycle without the sidecar, so obviously it's going to behave differently. You're leaning, it's got, as you can see, a car tire in the front, a big car tire for the rear as well, and of course a big car tire for the sidecar. So it behaves very differently, and it's been raked out what you have to do when you're installing sidecars. Now, I love sidecars. I think they're the best thing in the world, you know, next to a nice hot cup of coffee. You can share the experience, and I actually do this as a business in San Diego. Pegasus Sidecar Tours, we offer private guided narrated tours in San Diego County. Arguably the best way to see the place. If you're ever in town, reach out, let me show you around. Obviously I'm biased, but you know, it's not hard to convince that a cruise down the coast is a good way to spend your time in San Diego. We're here in beautiful Oceanside. This is my hometown, and blessed every day to be here, and no better way than to share it with the sidecar. And when I saw this, I had to have it. One, it's absolutely stunning. The Motorsport Edition comes with this special livery, the tricolore, the tricolored Bavarian style, right? This is the Bavarian flag, the white and blue, and it's just a gorgeous, I mean, red, white, and blue, right? Timeless. You also get a capo each exhaust with some carbon fiber little details. It's a little bit lighter as well. You get the HP2 wheels and rear sets. HP2, if you recall, is that gorgeous blue and white boxer BMW, HP2 Sport. They also made the HP2 Enduro, which was just absurdly great performer for, you know, 300, sub 400 pound Enduro. Pretty impressive bike. Rare. You probably never heard of it. Most people have never seen one. So I'm looking for one. I mean, that's what I'd want to upgrade to. So those are the wheels for that, and the rear sets as well. The controls, machined, beautiful, just an incredibly amazing motorcycle. This bike has about $10,000 worth of extra equipment. You have to do that when you're installing a sidecar. Ideally, you have to put a car tire in the front. It makes it more stable. Car tire in the rear makes it more stable, and also prevents you from having to change so many tires. You can do that on Goldwings even without a sidecar. It's called dark siding, going to the dark side. It's not a must, but it's highly recommended. But what is a must is to rake out the front end. This telelever suspension in the front has been cut and then re-welded to accommodate this wheel. The brake has been put on one side. Obviously the Motorsport Edition comes with all the bells and whistles. We'll talk about it in a second, but ABS, you get everything but cruise control, basically. So the brake has been put on the one side over there, and this wheel is different from the actual original wheel that was in the rear for the HP. So pretty impressive. I think if you're gonna go all out on a K1300 S, might as well find a Motorsport Edition and have yourself something that you know you're gonna keep, because it's a really satisfying motor. I mean, it's a satisfying bike overall. It's got all the bells and whistles, and it's a BMW. They never make a bad bike, right? So the bike now comes with a lot of tech, and that's what you pay for as well. Again, everything but cruise control, which I think was a miss. The cruise control should be on a sport tourer, because you're racking up miles on this thing, and it needs to be available to you. My hands go numb, and I like to have cruise control. It's a different thing with the sidecar. You don't want to have your hands off the handlebars with the sidecar, because it's one of those golden rules, right? So this one has heated grips. It's got electronic suspension adjustments. So you have 3 levels between custom sport and normal, and I think 9 levels altogether between them, and adjust both front and rear. Everything's electronically adjusted, which is really nice. No hand twisting, nothing. You also get BMW version of traction control. It prevents the rear wheel from slipping, so that when it senses that the rear wheel is slipping, it'll cut power to it slightly, all done electronically. It'll interrupt the process so that the bike can be maintained under control. This is especially important if you're in the corner. It doesn't matter as much with the sidecar. With the sidecar, you're going to slide a little bit. That's the whole point. We'll talk about this specific sidecar in a moment. The motorcycle itself is just absolutely stunning to look at, and I have this one outfitted with a Sargent seat. The seat is a little more comfortable, a little wider, and it's got a little storage box in the back. It's a faux carbon fiber. I wish it wasn't, because it just looks bad, but it's nice to have that little spot, although I do have a trunk in this sidecar that I could utilize for my things. So amazing motorcycle, really. The telelever front suspension is incredible. I speak about it in more detail when I review the K1300 S. There was a little bit of change done to it, a little bit of improvement. namely in the weight department. I think a kilo was taken off of it just because they used an alloy instead of the full steel to make it, basically, and a power lever in the rear as well. This form of suspension, obviously you don't have the maintenance that comes with forks, leaky forks, etc., but it also does a great job in preventing the motorcycle from dipping when you're braking, so it doesn't dive when you brake, which is really, really great. I mean, it just keeps it more stable in that regard. The brakes are fantastic. There was some issues with the previous 1200 having ABS problems every now and then, and that was a costly, also could be a dangerous problem to have. I never had issues with mine, and mine had over 40,000 miles. So again, take a look at that review if you're interested in that particular bike. But this is an improvement in power, in delivery, in performance, in every way, including the suspension. Shaft drive, so you have very little maintenance there, and obviously it adds weight. It's not as direct as a chain. I speak about this when I review my other BMW that I had, the 800 GT. The shaft drive is an improvement over other systems. Arguably, there's people that are always going to want either a chain. Belt is also a great alternative, but the shaft drive on bikes like these that have so much power is just, I think, the only way to go. Shaft drive out of all of them, you do lose a little bit of power. There's this thing called the shaft effect. The bike wants to buckle when you deliver that torque on a shaft-driven motorcycle, so there's ways to mitigate that, but you do lose the largest percentage of power delivery in a shaft system. But then again, 170 horsepower, it's not lacking in that regard. It's a really, really strong motorcycle. With these car tires, you're actually sliding all over the place until they get warm, and it does want to lift a front wheel. I mean, it has so much power, even with a sidecar with a person in it, that I wish these tires were actually a little bit softer, maybe. But who knows? I mean, honestly, at that point, it might even be unrideable. And I'm actually quite surprised at how good of a grip I have with these 3-car tires. You can just see right there, slammed on the brakes, and sometimes it activates the ABS, sometimes it just doesn't. But I am hydroplaning, but it's under control. I can control it. The sidecar rides better with weight in it, just because it's a little more stable. It doesn't want to pull you as easily. Sidecars always pull one way or another. Think about it. I mean, if you have a thing that you're pulling on one side, it's not driven, it's going to slow you down. And if you brake, it's going to want to go forward. So it's pulling you this way when you're braking. It's pulling you left. When you're accelerating, it's pulling you right. So you set the sidecar up to trail at a certain speed. I speak about it more in my sidecar review. I compared the different Hannigan and my Champion sidecars. You can take a look at that in the playlist if you're interested. I also provide these services, professional services, when you're buying and you're considering a sidecar rig. There's a lot to know, and it really makes a difference with how it's made. This is shipped then back to Kentucky, and you pay them $20,000 for the sidecar and the additional how many thousand to install it. So this particular sidecar costs so much because it has all the bells and whistles, the auxiliary lights and charging and ports and all this 3-colored, perfectly matched paint to the BMW K1300 S. I do have the tonneau cover for it, the stitching on the seat. They don't come with a seat belt, unfortunately, so I don't really ride my child in it. I wish it had a seat belt a little bit. That would have been a little more usable, but you can't even get it as an option. It's got the monkey seat here because this is a true racing rig. You're meant to lean out in the sidecar, and when you have a proper person in the sidecar rig who knows how to perform, it rides like a sports car. I mean, you can go just as fast in the corners as you can with a regular motorcycle, but you have a little more, it's a different dynamic, right? It's not counter steering, and you're leaning with the bike, and you feel the front end sliding, and you feel the whole bike sliding. When you take a left-hand turn, the right wheel of the sidecar digs in, and you can just take that as fast as you want. You can't do the same in the right-hand turn. If you do that aggressively, you might actually tip the sidecar over, or at the very least put it in the air. This is called flying the chair. So it takes a lot more skill, I think, to ride a sidecar, and it's not as intuitive as most people think. They could rent one and get on it and just race it down the hill. It's not quite that. I wouldn't recommend that at all. I would highly recommend you get a class if you're considering getting into sidecars, especially something this aggressive. That's something I offer as well in San Diego County. The sidecar has a very sizable trunk in the rear, which is great to have, honestly. The only negative thing is that it's hard to get in and out unless you're very flexible, because you only have, I guess, here to sustain yourself. You don't want to put any pressure on the windscreen. So, and there's a seat right there, so you kind of have to really shove your feet in there so that you're not standing on the seat. Otherwise, you can, you know, rip up the seat, etc. So I'm comparing it obviously to the ones that I use in my business, Pegasus Sidecar Tours. These are the Champion two-person sidecars, and those are much easier to get in because the whole sidecar opens. Hannigan also makes those, either one or two-person sidecars where the whole front rig opens, but obviously it's a totally different experience. This is a super sport sidecar. It performs like the bike demands it. This motorcycle did come with luggage, but the luggage is kind of generic. They're not color matched, they're expandable, but in an awkward way. I speak about it more when I review the K1300 for that, if you're interested. It's just, it wasn't my cup of tea in that regard. There's better luggage out there, but it's nice to have it. It really is nice to have it. I like the way it looks as well. And I believe that BMW also sold a top case that looked totally different from everything else. So if you had all three, it didn't even match the bike, and they didn't even match each other. And I think you can get them keyed, but it just wasn't great. I got to say, that was more practical because you could sell it to different motorcycles, different models of BMW, but it wasn't made to this specific bike, and that's a shame. So much for the luggage. I guess you don't need it when you have the sidecar for that reason. It's kind of nice. In California, we have a lane splitting, so I tend not to use this motorcycle for my commute because I can just lane split. I also just recently purchased a MV Agusta Super Veloce 800, my dream bike, and I've been riding that because that, interestingly enough, even though it's a super sport, has cruise control, and I like cruise control. So I can lane split with that thing, and I can put it in cruise, and I can just make it to my office in a more comfortable way where I'm not constantly on the throttle. So that's one thing. I think it's a huge miss that this bike ought to have had that from the get-go. I think the Motorsport Edition also had a darkened visor. This is obviously not stock. This one and this one, this isn't stock either. This is by Puig, the blue, and that one is custom made. I have two of them just in case, and I think it does a lot to kind of bring all the colors together. It's a really, really good looking rig. Everywhere you go, you have to take into consideration the SDF, the sidecar delay factor. Everybody wants to talk to you. Everybody wants just a piece of what this machine is all about, and it's been such a joy to ride. I've had the pleasure of taking some of my guests on the ride, and here Palomar Mountain is our kind of go-to, just beautiful curvy serpentines. I actually have a video of a very spirited ride in this sidecar rig with a passenger on that mountain if you want to see what that's all about. Doing a tour later today with it, so I'm looking forward to it again. I wish the gauge was a little different because I think it needs to be digital. It's just very hard to see. The numbers are too small. Top speed 172 matches its basically horsepower output, but I wish the speedo was digital and the tach was analog as it is. Basic here screen, no TFT, nothing. It's just a super basic screen. And then you have passing lights, info, hazards, ABS, and well, this is actually the suspension here adjustment, the electronic suspension adjustment here. The heated grips as well on this one, fairly standard there. Sergeant seat, very, very comfortable, wider, more attractive looking than the stock, which is a single seat as well. Carbon fiber, and these are from the HP. All these rear sets, just they don't fold, so kind of hurt yourself there, but no biggie. Shaft drive, and this is how they accommodate for the shaft effect, elevator effect of the shaft. I like this part a lot. My Pegasus planner, you could take a look at that on the playlist as well. I created that to be more efficient with my day, specifically for the male audience. Quite beautiful. Upgraded blinkers, but when you upgrade the blinkers, you actually get a light on the dash. because it has a lamp warning light that then you can't really get rid of, because these obviously draw different power. So, and when you change the tires as well, keep in mind that the tire pressure monitor is going to go on, because then it doesn't recognize the right pressure. The Akrapovic, this is laser etched as opposed to the stickers on the original ones. It's a little bit lighter, looking great as well. Shape is different. You can see these are kind of quick release for the sidecar, so that you don't always have to bleed the brakes if you take the sidecar off, although I never do. Plenty of trunk space. I got a helmet in there, my tripod, my camera equipment, etc. This tonneau cover is very nice, very nice. Gorgeous seat, Maxim alloy wheels for this, and matching the front for the sidecar. Look at all that color detail. The paint is superb, really, really well done, perfectly matched, and really well done. Absolutely stunning job from Hannigan. And this BMW is just bitching. I do notice a little crack here. I think that kind of developed on its own over time. It's still functional to fold these mirrors in, but you see when you fold them how much they separate. So that's one little thing. And what I notice is there's a lot of little crackling noises whenever you press it anywhere, especially here when you lean against it. There's a lot of little crackling noises. You can't hear it from this blessed view. If we stood here long enough, I would guarantee you see dolphins. But that's one thing I do notice, that obviously you don't hear it when the gorgeous tune of the Akrapovic is singing, but here, like everywhere you press, there's little crackling noises. I mean, you know, not a fan of that. I hope this video was informative. It's an amazing motorcycle. I think it's timeless in the sense that if you were to pick one up, you'd probably keep it for life, because it doesn't leave anything to be desired. I mean, but I am going to be looking for the HP2, the Sport, as well as the Enduro. If you see one, let me know. I'd like to pick that up wherever it may be in the States, and do a review when I get to know it. So thank you again for watching. Stay tuned for more. This outfit, for example, is going to be reviewed. This is from Resurgence Gear USA, for a New Zealand brand that is really making some great improvements on everyday riding gear, and I look forward to reviewing it with you as well. And my helmet that I bought specifically for the MV Agusta Super Veloce, the Ruroc Atlas 4.0. This is the track model. I'm going to be reviewing that as well. Stay safe, and if you'd like a ride in a sidecar, let me know. Come to San Diego and I'll take you for a spin. Pegasus Sidecar Tours, always a pleasure. Until next time, Nick, I'm out. Oh no.